High drive to right. It is outta here. Splash.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, hosting this show since prior to the 2019 season, so over 6 years, and I'm a lifelong Giants fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Check us out there if you have not already, and please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And coming up on today's show, I am very, very pleased to announce that we will not, in fact, be talking about the Giants with a demoralizing sweep at the hands of the Reds, because they pulled off one of their best comebacks in recent memory. They score 7 unanswered runs. They were down 5-0 in the third. They were down 6-1 in the sixth. And they come all the way back from those deficits to win this game in walk-off fashion with a splash hit, nonetheless, by Mike Yastrzemski, who now has... here's the splash hit leaderboard. Barry Bonds has 35. Brandon Belt has 10. Pablo Sandoval has 8. And Mike Yastrzemski has 7. So good chance, solid chance that Yaz passes Sandoval and becomes third all time in splash hits this season. But and so many of his splash hits have been walk-offs. It feels like he does it every single year. Hits a walk-off splash hit. From Alex Pavlovich, I thought this was a fun note. Giants won 8-6. Mike Yastrzemski walked it off. They went 4-2 on the homestand with 3 walk-offs and 2 shutouts. So it was, talk about boom or bust with this team on this homestand. But all in all, I said prior to the game on Twitter that I thought psychologically this was just a huge game for the team going into not just a road trip, but a cross-country flight. They're going all the way to New York, probably today after the game. So, by the time you're listening to this, they may already be on the plane, or if you're listening tomorrow, they're already there. And you don't want to go there after getting swept, and especially when you can't score any runs. And it was looking like that. They were leaving guys on base all over the place to start this game. But with a win instead, you improved to 9-3 on the season, which had a chance to be the best record in baseball if the Padres would have lost. But the Padres did win, and so the Giants don't have sole possession of the best record in baseball, but they do have sole possession of the second best record in baseball. Unfortunately, like I said, the Padres are number 1 and the Dodgers are number 3. And so that's what's going on in the division right now. And technically, both the Giants and the Dodgers are just a half game back of the Padres. So the Dodgers are technically tied with the Giants, but the Giants have a better winning percentage. Giants have won 75% of their games, 12 games into the season with 9. So being 9-3 and just salvaging a win here to make it a 4-2 homestand after they went 5-1 on their first and only road trip of the season, it just completely changes everything. And it takes a lot of weight off everybody's shoulders. And there's a lot of guys who are pressing. I mean, you look at Willy Adames, he went hitless again today. 0 for 4, did draw a walk, but that batting average down to 184. I don't have the slugging and on base pulled up, but I'm pulling it up now. But it's been a big struggle, and I kind of called a home run for him today just because I figured it was time. But no, it was just another 0 for 4. Yeah, 184 average, 241 on base, 224 slugging. So I'm going to definitely say don't hit the panic button on Willy Adames. We are talking about a small sample. We're talking about 12 games. But if you would have lost this game, we would be probably talking way more about the struggles of Willy Adames. And Matt Chapman took an 0 for today. Elliot Ramos took an 0 for today. And so this series did a number on a lot of Giants players. Lamont Wade hasn't been able to get it going. He's hitting 105 with a 435 OPS. One guy who's not been cold is Jung-Hoo Lee, and another guy who's not been cold is Mike Yastrzemski, and Wilmer Flores either. Patrick Bailey had a nice game. Tyler Fitzgerald ended up with a couple hits in this game. So this team does have that thing going on right now where it's not like, the guys you would expect would be Adames and Chapman kind of carrying the load offensively, but it's really been Jung-Hoo Lee, which shouldn't be a huge surprise. We've said all along that he had the potential to be really good, and he's showing that with, even his outs today were like, he hit a rocket to the opposite field gap that got caught in a dive. He's hitting 333 with a 375 on base, 533 slugging. He leads the major leagues in doubles. He had a double and a triple today. And what a spark he has been. And he's been good defensively. So huge for Jung-Hoo Lee. And then also Mike Yastrzemski, another guy a lot of people wanted cut, not tender to contract. But so far in the early season, having a great start, hitting 344, 462 on base, 594 slugging, a 193 weighted runs created plus. That's better than even Jung-Hoo Lee, who's got a 154 weighted runs created plus. So Yaz is really getting it done. His bat position, he kind of used to have the bat resting on his shoulders, but it's a little more upright, I've noticed this season. And it seems like his swing is just kind of dialed in, and it really has been since the first game of the year. I think he had their first hit of the season off of Hunter Green in Cincinnati, and he hasn't really slowed down at all since. So great to see from Mike Yastrzemski that the lefties in the lineup, Jung-Hoo Lee and Yaz, just carrying the load. They came back. That is just the most important thing. Like I said, to salvage that win, make it a 4-2 homestand. Who cares that you lost the series because you swept the previous series? So 4-2 homestand, 5-1 on your last road trip, 9-3 overall. It's sole possession of the second best record in baseball. This is how baseball works, is you just have to turn the page. Ugly things happen, like those back-to-back shutouts, but you just turn the page and try to win the next day and try to psychologically think about things like, if we win this game, we're 4-2 on this homestand and we have the second best record in baseball. And sure enough, they were able to do that, even though it did not look like they were going to be able to do it. And so what a morale boost. What a uplift. I'm full of energy. And so for them, it has that same effect. And they're going to be on whatever it is, like a 5.5 hour flight to New York. They have the day off tomorrow where they can just kind of sit and relax and feel good coming off this win. And then they start this super long road trip. That's not easy. They're playing some tough teams. The Yankees in Yankee Stadium, who just went off when they were home, hitting tons of homers for 3. And then in Philadelphia, one of the better teams in the National League, or all of baseball really, for 4. And then the Angels, who have been playing well, for 3. That is a long road trip and no days off. And then they don't have any days off, and then they start a 7-game homestand. So they don't have another day off until the 28th. They're off tomorrow and then the 10th, and then they're not off again until the 28th. So coming up in just a minute, we're going to talk about what went down in this game, what went down in this series overall, and also Justin Verlander. Is he becoming a problem? Ooh, tough to say 3 starts in, but maybe. We'll get into it in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode of Locked on Giants is brought to you in part by wonderful pistachios. Are you looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious. Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk. I've got some sitting right here. You can hear that. You can see that if you're on YouTube. Or on a road trip, or you just need a quick protein boost, they're always my go-to. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, here we go. We are going to get into more of the details of this game, the pitching. We will eventually talk about Justin Verlander and what we saw out of Landen, Roupp, and Hayden Birdsong last night with the Giants losing 1-0. Anyway, thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. I realize this episode coming out a little bit late. It's a little bit tough when the Giants have a day game, especially following a rough game. It's not, so sometimes the episodes come out a little bit later in the day, such as today. But yeah, let's get into more of the specifics of this game and how the pitching outside of Justin Verlander kept them in it after what was looking like it was just going to be a super frustrating loss, because I took a bunch of notes here and, bolded some things. Like, they really should have had a bunch more runs through like 5 innings. They probably should have had 4 runs. Instead, they had 1. So it just speaks to how we shouldn't overreact to the first little bit of the season when they were cashing in all these opportunities and getting kind of miraculous hits, or just more fundamentally, like, speaking of fundamentals, there was all this talk about, this team, under Buster Posey's leadership is going to do the little things and play more. I've even heard the term like Buster Ball and, move runners up and hit sack flies and bunt and stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's great when they're doing it, but when they're not doing it, are you going to say that, like, what's your explanation for when they're not able to do it? My explanation is baseball is really hard. And so, league average rate of basically scoring a runner from third with less than 2 outs in an individual at bat is about 50%. So half the time you don't come through. And so you're going to see that. You're not going to see the Giants come through every time with a runner on third and less than 2 outs. But we saw a lack of situational baseball all day in the early part of this game. In the bottom of the 4th, Willy Adames led off with a walk. Jung-Hoo Lee tripled him in. That was the Giants' first run of the series. But you're talking about a runner on third, nobody out. Were they able to get him in? No, they were not. Matt Chapman hit a pop-up. Elliot Ramos hit a weak ground ball that the pitcher fielded and made kind of a crazy good play on and threw home, even though they were up like 5-1 at the time. So unusual to take that risk and throw home, but they did get the out there. So both Chapman and Ramos, 2 guys you're relying on to be able to come through in that situation, not able to drive in a fast runner from third in Jung-Hoo Lee. Infield back both times. So all you have to do is hit a ground ball to short or something and you score a run, but they couldn't do it. And then in the bottom of the 5th, Wilmer Flores hit a single and Patrick Bailey hit a double. So it was second and third with nobody out. Infield is back and Tyler Fitzgerald hit a ground ball to short. So that would have worked with Jung-Hoo Lee on third, but with Wilmer Flores on third, it's a ground ball to short. Ellie De La Cruz has a cannon. Wilmer Flores is slow. And so Cruz just throws home and they get Flores by 10 feet. And so Flores is out at home. And then that makes 2 runners thrown out at home. And then again, they didn't score in the inning after second and third, nobody out. So Lee on third with nobody out, can't get him in. Second and third, nobody out, can't get anybody in. That's 3 runs. You really could say if you played situational baseball, you get them in. So there you go. 3 runs not on the board. And then I've got some notes about Justin Verlander, so we'll get to that a little bit later on. But yeah, I mean, actually from there, then things started to happen. I guess in the bottom of the seventh, actually, Jung-Hoo Lee, Giants were down a run, hit a double to lead off the inning. Down a run. So you're talking just play some situational baseball and you could tie this game. Chapman, to his credit, he had a rocket to right, and that's the game of baseball sometimes. You do everything right. I mean, he hit the ball to the right side, which if it's on the ground, it advances the runner. If it's like a fly ball that kind of backs up the outfielder, it advances the runner, but it was a line drive right to the right fielder, so Jung-Hoo Lee not able to advance. And then the rest of the inning, they couldn't score. I didn't take notes on exactly what happened, but Jung-Hoo Lee stranded after a leadoff double. So that's 4 runs that with situational at-bats you could have scored, that they didn't get any of them. But thankfully, they were still able to overcome all of that and win this game. And they did it late with homers. Wilmer Flores, heroic homer again to tie the game in the bottom of the 8th, just down the line, right into that left field corner, the Michael Morse corner, hits a homer to tie the game. And then we got to get into the pitching because the bullpen was outstanding. Justin Verlander ends up going 5 2/3, allows 6 runs, 5 earned to raise his earned run average to 692. We will get into Verlander in just a minute. One of those runs was walked in by Lou Trevino, who ended up, that was his only inning. He walked a batter in, and then he struck somebody out. But then Randy Rodriguez, scoreless inning, again, still hasn't allowed a run this season. Tyler Rogers, scoreless inning, again, still hasn't allowed a run this season. Ryan Walker, scoreless inning, 1.50 ERA. Eric Miller in the 10th, with Ellie De La Cruz up first, struck him out and got out of the inning without allowing a run. So when you can do that as the home team in extra innings with that free runner on second to start the inning, if you can keep the team from scoring, the road team, it just is, it feels like such a win. And Eric Miller was able to do that, and oh, by the way, still has not allowed a run this season. So the Giants pitchers had 16 strikeouts in this game. Granted, 9 came from Verlander, even though he allowed 6 runs, 5 earned, like I said, but the bullpen covered, 4 1/3 and no runs, and also 1 hit surrendered by Randy Rodriguez. 1 hit, and how many walks? 1, and it was the Lou Trevino walk with the bases loaded. So after that, they were just shut down, and they absolutely needed to do it, and it gave the offense a chance to come back, which is ultimately what they did. And so the pitching outside of Justin Verlander in this series was sensational. You had Logan Webb throwing one of his better games in recent memory, 10 strikeouts, I think it was, in 7 innings. Camilo Doval did implode a little bit there. But then yesterday, you had Landen, Roupp, and Hayden Birdsong combining to allow just 1 run. And so it was squandered. You know, we didn't get a chance, not that I really wanted to break down that game because it was very frustrating, but we didn't. That was last night, and this is the first time we're talking about it. But obviously, frustration offensively. Giants just had 4 hits. But the pitching, Roupp went 6, struck out 4, walked 0, allowed 7 hits, but just 1 run. And Hayden Birdsong followed him up with 3 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, no runs. So those two just combining for a heck of a game on the mound. The offense just... 1 measly run would have done it, or, you know, at least got it to extra innings, but they couldn't do it. And so back-to-back shutouts going into this finale, and then the lack of situational hitting to start the game through multiple innings and multiple chances, it seemed like it was just going to be a very frustrating sweep, but instead they pulled together as a team. They still haven't gotten contributions from their big offseason signing, even though I know he hit a walk-off hit down to their last out in the home opener. So that was obviously a huge contribution. But overall, Adames has struggled. Some key guys have struggled, and yet, nonetheless, they're 9-3. But what are they going to do about what I'm dubbing the Justin Verlander problem? Is it too soon to be calling it the Justin Verlander problem? Am I out of line? We'll break it all down. What do I mean? What do you do if it really is the Justin Verlander problem? We'll get into it in just a minute, and before we do, today's episode of Locked On Giants is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. I can't stress enough how great it is to have everything in one place instead of having to juggle it all over the place. So just take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. All right, here we go. We're gonna get into it, folks. We're gonna get into what I'm calling the Justin Verlander problem. And why is it more than just, oh, he's not pitching well? There is more to it than that. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. And let's just jump right into it. The Justin Verlander problem. So he goes out there today, and on the bright side, actually, I may take it back. That's what just one glance at statistics can do for me. And I'm willing to admit, not necessarily being wrong. I mean, this could be a problem, but the results weren't there today. He had an ERA of 7.94 in the game, allowing 5 earned runs and 5 2/3. But what was encouraging was the 9 strikeouts. He did walk 3, but the 9 strikeouts is necessary, because if you're and also the velocity, I got to be honest, he's throwing mid 90s and sometimes more than that. And that's encouraging too. If Verlander's out here throwing 91 and getting shelled, then you definitely have a problem on your hands. But I will still explain nonetheless what I mean. And if you're looking on YouTube, you can see that the little title I have up for this segment basically says, is Justin Verlander better than Hayden Birdsong? And I'm not so sure the answer is yes. But today's start, statistically speaking, actually is encouraging for me. So now on the season, Verlander has 16 strikeouts and he's faced 62 batters. So that's a strikeout rate of 25.8%. And so that's encouraging, because coming into the game, it was 19.4%. Last year, 18.7%. The year before that, 21.5%. And then if you go beyond that, the year before that, which is when he won the Cy Young Award and had a 1.75 ERA, his strikeout rate was 27.8%. League average is around 22. And so this year now, he's at about 26, and that's encouraging. That is encouraging and necessary. Otherwise, if Verlander's not striking people out and he's getting hit, you got a problem on your hands. Why? Because to me, they're not going to take him out of the rotation. Why? Because of the fact that this is one of the cons of having someone like Buster Posey in charge. I get the pros, but I also get the cons. And I think back to the previous regime, Bobby Evans, and just letting veterans kind of go out there and struggle just because they were they had earned it in their careers, kind of essentially. Think about Matt Cain. He was basically bad for the entirety of his contract with the Giants, a ruthless team would have like cut ties, and I'm not saying they should have done that, but you just accepted bad performance every fifth day from a spot in your rotation when the best teams don't do that. And so for Verlander being Verlander and for Posey being Posey, a former player, and understanding that Verlander is trying to play for another many years and that he's trying to win games, has this personal goal of 300 wins. He would probably be the last guy ever to do it if he can do it. He's sitting at 262. I don't see a scenario where they take him out of the rotation at any point this season, as long as he's healthy and able to pitch. Now, possibly if Hayden Birdsong is just like lighting it up in a relief role and everybody else is remaining healthy, maybe at some point, if Verlander's like struggling, but he's not too bad, could you see a trade as like an opportunity to clear a spot for a young pitcher that like, could you really make that decision, even though it's a tough decision to make? Maybe, but it's a problem if Justin Verlander struggles this season because I don't see them taking him out of the rotation. Now, we're all learning. Maybe they would. What would they do, though? There's no phantom ILs here anymore, like Derek Holland, remember that, famously accused the Farhan Zaidi regime of putting him on the IL with a fake injury. And I don't want to, he's probably right. I mean, you can't do that. And so the Giants were very defensive about there is an injury, but Holland was like, nah, because you could probably say that anybody's injured if you look closely enough at their medical records when these guys are professional athletes and they're constantly getting tests done on them. And all the wear and tear and all that. But anyway, the question was, is Hayden Birdsong better or is Justin Verlander better? And also for the long-term health of this organization, if Hayden Birdsong looks like he's ready to break out as a pitcher, is it really in your best interest to trot out a Justin Verlander if he's struggling? And so, yeah, today was encouraging because the fielding independent pitching for the game was 148. Overall in the season, the fielding independent pitching is now 399, which is solid. The expected fielding independent pitching is 368, which is solid. So the 692 ERA looks like the outlier there. We'll have to see what the expected ERA is because that takes the quality of contact against you into account as well. But today he wasn't really getting hit all over the field. I mean, he got into some trouble with some walks, and there were also just some ground balls that found holes, but I wasn't seeing them just like teeing off on him per se, and at times he was overpowering, hence the 9 strikeouts in 5 2/3. But Hayden Birdsong has an ERA of 0. He's pitched only 7 innings, an expected ERA of 3.70, whereas Verlander came into this game with an expected ERA of 7.66, and it was just 7 1/3. So almost, it was like 7-inning sample here. Verlander, 7 1/3, expected ERA 7.66 coming into today. Hayden Birdsong, 7 innings, expected ERA 3.70, with a fielding independent pitching of 2.64. Whereas Verlander coming into today, it was 5.93. Now, we're talking small samples, but this is why I'm setting this up for the future. Like, next time out, Justin Verlander is going to be in Philadelphia. Let's see, how does he do against a really good offense on the road in a hitter-friendly park? If he gets hit around and Birdsong continues to look kind of electric out of the bullpen, then what do? And you look at Landen Roupp, who now has made 2 starts, 10 innings, ERA of 3.60. Last year's ERA 3.58, so almost identical. And this year, Landen Roupp's expected ERA 2.20, fielding independent pitching 1.87. So I'm seeing nothing not to like about Landen Roupp or Hayden Birdsong. Whereas I'm looking at an ERA of almost 7 from Justin Verlander. So it's just potentially a problem if Verlander struggles, what do you do? So tell me, what do you think? What should they do? What will they do? Let me know what you think, because I could see this going in a weird route if everybody else in the rotation stays healthy. Otherwise, if somebody gets hurt, it's like obvious you just kind of try to put Birdsong in there, but he's not worked up as a starter anymore, built up, and so maybe you'd have to go to the minor leagues and go to Kyle Harrison or something. But you've got so much young pitching. If Verlander struggles, what do you do? So anyway, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen. Maybe not if you're listening on Wednesday. That's just because of the day game. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Once again, I'm Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter or X at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much. So thank you in advance, and thanks to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening today. You are now Locked On Giants.